Good afternoon once again, and I hope I meet you well. We want to continue with religion, peace, conflict management. And today we want to quickly take a look at tracks, methods, styles, approaches to peace building. We have different kinds of approaches to conflict resolution and peace building. And there are differences between conflict resolution and peace building. One, conflict resolution is a prerequisite of peace building. Peace building can only take effect after a conflict has been resolved. That is the aspect of trying to rebuild everything, constructively rebuild everything that was destroyed, that was damaged, to redevelop everything that was in place is a form of rebuilding, and that is peace building. That's a process of trying to rebuild something that has been destroyed, something that has been disrupted, something that has been damaged by the reason of the conflicts that happened. For example, if there is a war in a place, we know there will be destructions, building must have been collapsed, places must have been destroyed, and eventually, if there is a peace in that particular area, the government or the authority in charge in place, we want to put things better for the comfort of those that are in that particular place. That process is called peace building. And where conflict resolution simply did the aspects of trying to resolve a conflict is a process of trying to resolve a conflict, and one leads to one. And so we want to look at different styles, different methods, and approaches to having this done. And we have 6 that we want to look at today. And number 1 is avoidance method. The second one is direct command resolution style, and that's involve government. And number 3 is non-governmental or third-party intervention. And number 4 is compromise or negotiation track method. And number 5 is synergistic style. And number 6 is religion or peacemaking through faith in action. Now let's take it one after the other. Avoidance. This style of resolution is seen when one or two of the parties are advised to avoid one another. Avoid talking about the issue at conflict. This avoidance style can be a very useful and constructive resolution tool when words between individuals may become so heated that a period of ensued between the servant of Abraham and Lot was wisely and timely avoided by Abraham's counsel for separation between the feuding servant over pasture land. We can see the aspect of avoidance between Abraham and Lot. There were feuds, and don't let these people cause fight between the two of us. So choose a path. If you go left, I will go right. If you go right, I will go left. And that's a system we know as avoidance. So we can advise that people should avoid at least for some particular time until the anger, the temper must have settled, when one of them will be reasonable. Avoidance technique or avoidance method. And the second one is direct command resolution style, and this involved the government. This type of resolution style occurs when a legitimate official or group of persons settle a conflict situation by the power and dominance stemming from state or ecclesial authority. It may be a verbal or written, and when using this method, care should be exercised as it may be counterproductive, especially when the person or group of persons exerting the authorities do so in a manner that may increase the conflict. And we can see that situation in the NSAS that just happened in Nigeria. You know, the government saying that the protesters should disperse and go, but they refused to go. And even though they wanted to try to forcefully, disengage them, and still yet they stood their ground. And that's one other method, direct command resolution style. And the third one is non-governmental. That's a third party intervention. And third party intervention takes place when a person or a group, especially non-governmental organizations or professionals, not favoring either side in the conflict, is asked to make a decision that is acceptable to both parties. That is acceptable to both parties. This style of conflict management is most effective when the third party is acceptable to the persons in the conflict, and when the third party has the wherewithal to rule on the issue or is seen as knowledgeable, professional, competent in the area at hand. And one other very, very important factor is that they must see that the third party is not biased. Is not biased in any way. Any sense of insecurity by one of the parties that, this third party organization is biased, that case is more complicated. That case is more complicated. And it could be an individual and it could be an organization. It could be either of the two. And the fourth one is compromise or negotiation track. This is a track which is most familiar to persons in conflict situation. It is usually based on a principle of giving and getting. And that's what negotiation is all about. That's what negotiation is all about. Negotiation is all about is the principle of giving and getting. It is hoped that both parties will profit from the outcome, and that is a win-win situation. A win-win situation. A win-win situation. From the outcome of the conflict situation, or at least the person have a sense of a fair settlement. And this style of conflict management is based on the assumed goodwill of the persons in the conflict. It's a deliberation between the two, like most especially the one that happens between the government and the labor people. Oh, we are going on strike. Oh, okay, don't go on strike. Why do you want to go on strike? Oh, it's our salary, you not paid us, our arrears, all this stuff and that. And they now go to a round table dialogue. And there is a deliberation between the two of them until they actually come to an agreement. And we notice that after a period of time, if one party, most especially the government, is not actually fulfilling their own side, their aspect of their agreement and conclusion, you can see the labor will always go back and continue with their strike. And number 5 is synergistic style. And this is the joining action of people or organization to increase each other's effectiveness, and is perhaps the most successful type of conflict management. This style emphasizes on and uses integration of value, needs, and communicative collaboration. It encourages a mutual getting as involved in compromise. It is rather based on the good faith that both parties sincerely desire a positive alternative to the present state of conflict. This is the joining action of people or organization to increase each other's effectiveness. And this is the aspect whereby we see different organizations actually coming together. You know, a very good example is we have the United Nations. You know, when they go for peacekeeping, peacemaking, we see people, different kind of nations, they come all together into a particular nation, the same as a contingent, to make sure that there is peace, there is peace, there is peace. And it is expected that the two parties too are actually looking forward to having this situation resolved. And lastly is religion and or peacemaking through faith in action. Religion or peacemaking through faith in action. This track or method involves and deals with beliefs and peace-oriented pronouncement, statute and action of spiritual and religious community. We are to be imitators of God in this regard. In all we are enjoined in Hebrews 12:14 to always strive for peace with all men and for holiness, without which no one will see the Lord. Let us therefore pursue what makes for peace and mutual upbuilding. And so, in this aspect, this is where a religious individual, this is where a religious body, a religious organization will step into a situation to actually deal. We have a very good example of the Pope going to Sudan to make sure that there is peace between the northern Sudan and the southern Sudan. And even then, it was blown over the news that the Pope actually prostrated for the president of northern Sudan to please have, that peace should reign in Sudan. And this is an example of a religion or peacemaking through faith in action, and trying to seek for the rationale of the people involved through the word of God, through the word of God. And that is all for today. And I wish you all the best in the upcoming exam. And we can go through the do's and don'ts of conflict resolutions. It's just there for to like summarize do's and don'ts, what you need to do when you want to do, you are involved in conflict resolution and peace building, and what you don't need to do. It's just a guideline, and so please can just go through this. And with that, I think we've come to the end of religion, peace and conflict management. Do have a wonderful day.